Usain Bolt. I mean, the name itself just sounds fast, doesn't it? He became this global icon, of speed, of style, a personality that just seemed like he was born for greatness. And that's what we all remember, right? The swagger, the records, that legendary lightning bolt pose. He didn't just win races, he put on a show. He made one of the toughest events in all of sports look, well, easy, like it was nothing. But that's the big question we're going to dive into. Was it really that easy? Because behind that famous smile and those mind-blowing sprints, there's a story that's way more complex and honestly, way more inspiring than you might think. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with that effortless illusion, then uncover the imperfect machine he was working with. We'll get into the science of his speed, how he conquered his mind, the real price of glory, and finally, the lessons we can all take away from his journey. Let's kick things off with that perfect image he showed the world. Okay, so the effortless illusion. Just picture this. The 2008 Olympics. It's the 100-meter final, the biggest stage there is. And what does Bolt do? He starts celebrating with 20 meters still to go. He's pounding his chest, arms out wide, and he still smashes the world record. It was just so unbelievably dominant, it almost looked fake. So now let's pull back the curtain on that illusion and look at the surprising reality of Bolt's body. Because beneath that championship exterior was a machine that was, well, let's just say it was far from perfect for a sprinter. You see, you gotta understand, sprinting is a science. There's this ideal body type, right? Around 6 feet tall, compact, perfectly symmetrical. But Usain Bolt, he was a towering 6'5", and as scientists would later find out, he was anything but symmetrical. And here is the secret he was dealing with his whole career: scoliosis. It's a condition where your spine literally curves sideways. Now, for anyone, that's tough. But for an elite sprinter, a guy whose entire job is about perfect body alignment, this should have been a complete deal breaker. And get this, because of that curved spine, his right leg was a full half-inch shorter than his left. Just try to imagine that. Every single step he ever took on the track was fundamentally imbalanced. That's the core of the physical challenge he was up against. And this isn't just a guess. We have the numbers to back it up. Researchers actually studied his stride, and what they found was wild. His left leg hit the ground with 13% less force than his powerful right leg. In a sport where you win or lose by a hair, a 13% difference it's like a canyon. That's a massive, massive disadvantage. So that's the big mystery, right? If he was so imbalanced, so physically wrong for this sport, how in the world did he become the fastest human ever? Well, the answer is amazing. He and his coach didn't try to fix the flaw. They invented a whole new way to run with it. Here's how they did it. He couldn't explode out of the blocks like the other guys, so he just didn't. He accepted being behind at the start. He knew his real advantage was his long stride, which let him hit his top speed later in the race. And here is the absolute key. The 100-meter dash isn't really about who's fastest. It's about who slows down the least. And Bolt, he was the master of not slowing down. He'd just glide past everybody in those last 30 meters. So to make up for that weaker left leg, his right leg had to be an absolute piston. We're talking about generating over 455 kilograms of force, that's 5 times his body weight, every time he pushed off the ground. He basically turned his body's imbalance into this unique, powerful, galloping stride that nobody could match. Okay, so we've covered the body, but that's only half the story. Let's talk about the mind, because honestly, to manage all those physical issues and still dominate for almost 10 years, that takes a whole different kind of strength. The starting line of the 100 meters has got to be one of the most stressful places on Earth. You blink, you doubt yourself for a split second, and the race is lost. So what was Bolt's secret to staying so cool? He would literally think about anything else. He said he'd wonder what he was going to eat for dinner that night or who he'd see tomorrow. Just total distraction until he heard those words, "on your marks." Then he'd flip the switch. But he wasn't born with that ice in his veins confidence. It was earned. Believe it or not, when he was just 15 at the Junior Worlds in his own hometown, he was so scared he was actually crying before the race. Just a teenager, terrified of failing in front of everyone he knew. But somehow he got a handle on that fear, went out there and won. He said that day changed everything. It's where he learned to conquer his fear, a skill he would need again and again. All right, so we've got the imperfect body and the unbreakable mind. But what about the work? That effortless performance we all saw? Yeah, not even close. Boltz said it himself. He said when people see him run, they say it looks so easy. But before you get to that point, it's the hardest thing in the world. It's just sacrifice every single day. The ease was just an illusion, paid for with a whole lot of pain when no one was watching. And his coach, Glenn Mills, painted an incredible picture of just how hard that work was. He once told Bolt, "In a few years, we won't have any track left because you're taking it all home with you in your sweat." I mean, can you imagine working that hard? And that's the thing, isn't it? The real work always happens behind the curtain. We just get to see the show. We see the 10 seconds of glory, not the years of sweat, pain, and pushing through doubt that made those 10 seconds possible. So after all that, what are the big takeaways? What can we actually learn from this kid who battled his own body and his own mind to become one of the greatest of all time? Well, it seems to come down to three big ideas. First, learn how to lose. His coach taught him that losing isn't failing, it's just learning what to do better next time. Second, push past that voice in your head that tells you to quit. Real growth happens when you're exhausted and keep going anyway. And third, you don't just show up confident on game day. You build it, day by day, in training. When you really look at it, Bolt's true victory wasn't just about crossing a finish line first. It was about conquering all the imperfections and doubts inside himself. Yeah, the speed was amazing, but it was his resilience, his ability to overcome that really made him a legend. And that kind of makes you think, right? We all have our own version of a curved spine. Some challenge or imperfection we think is holding us back. So the question his story leaves us with is a personal one. What's your impossible barrier? And what are you going to do about it?